What if I told you there are two completely different categories of desire, and you have probably spent years judging yourself against the wrong one? Most women think desire should show up out of nowhere. When it doesn't, they assume something's wrong with them. But the truth is, your desire might be working perfectly. You just didn't know there was another type. In this video, I'm going to break down the two overarching categories of desire and help you identify which one you have and show you exactly what your type needs to actually show up in your relationship. This distinction alone has changed everything for the women that I work with. You wait to feel desire before initiating intimacy, and it rarely comes. You wonder why you never feel that spontaneous urge your partner seems to have. You started to believe that your desire is gone, but it's not. You've just been waiting for a type of desire that is different to how your body works. I'm Lauren Wolf, registered psychotherapist and sex therapist. Understanding responsive versus spontaneous desire is one of the most important topics I teach. It's backed by research, and I've seen it transform how women relate to their own sexuality. And once you get this, you stop pathologizing yourself and start working with your body instead of against it. I'm going to explain both types of desire, help you identify yours, and then show you what responsive desire actually needs to emerge. Spontaneous desire is what most people think of when they think of desire. It just shows up out of nowhere. You're going about your day and suddenly you feel an urge for sex. No trigger needed, no warming up required. It just appears. This type of desire is more common in men and the early stages of relationships when the novelty and excitement are high. It's also what movies, media, pop culture portray as normal desire. The problem is that most women, especially in long-term relationships, do not experience desire this way. And because spontaneous desire is treated as the default, anything else feels like a deficiency. Spontaneous desire is real, but it is not the only kind. And expecting it to be your kind might be why you feel like there is something wrong with you. I ask women, do you ever just feel randomly in the mood out of nowhere? Most say rarely or never. They assume that that means something is wrong, but it doesn't. It means they don't have spontaneous desire as their primary type. That's normal. It is just not what anyone told them to expect. Think of spontaneous desire as eating suddenly out of nowhere. You're not thinking about food. There's no yummy aromas. Maybe you're not even really hungry, but suddenly you're putting food in your mouth. I guess some people experience desire that way, but not everyone. And assuming that everyone should feed themselves the same way is totally absurd. So reflect honestly. How often do you feel desire completely out of nowhere with no trigger or buildup? If the answer is rarely, you probably don't have spontaneous desire as your primary type, and that is totally not a problem. It's just information. And to be honest, that's mostly a male thing. So if spontaneous desire is not your type, what is? Responsive desire is exactly what it sounds like. Desire that emerges in response to something, not out of nowhere, but in response to connection, touch, arousal, feeling safe, or being in the right mental state. With responsive desire, you do not feel the urge first and then engage. You engage first and then desire follows. This is the primary type of desire for most women, especially in long-term relationships. It's not low desire, it's desire that needs an invitation rather than just arriving uninvited. Responsive desire does not mean you want sex less. It means you want sex differently. And nobody taught you that difference. In fact, there are 5 subsets of responsive desire I've identified that I walk my clients through to help them identify exactly where they land. When I explain responsive desire to my clients, they often tear up. Years of shame dissolve in minutes. They realize there's nothing wrong with them. They've just been waiting for something that was never going to come the way they expected. Their desire was always there, it just needed a different invitation. Responsive desire is like feeling hungry when you smell food cooking. You weren't thinking about eating, but then you walked past the kitchen, smelled something delicious, and suddenly you wanted to eat. The hunger is real. It just needed a trigger. Responsive desire works the same way. The desire is real. It just needs the right conditions to emerge. Ask yourself, do I sometimes get into intimacy not feeling much, but then start to enjoy it once things begin? Does my desire tend to follow connection, touch, or feeling emotionally close? Am I more likely to feel interested after some warming up rather than before? If yes to these, you likely have responsive desire, and that changes everything about how you should approach intimacy. But here is where most women with responsive desire go wrong. If this is already shifting how you see yourself, hit subscribe. I post weekly on desire and intimacy in long-term relationships. This one concept alone has transformed how hundreds of women relate to their sexuality. Here's the mistake most women with responsive desire make. They wait to feel desire before engaging with intimacy. They think they should feel the urge first. And so they wait, and the urge never comes because that is not how their desire works. Meanwhile, they feel increasingly disheartened because nothing is happening. But the desire was never going to show up that way. Responsive desire needs engagement to emerge. Waiting for it to appear first is like waiting for hunger while refusing to smell or see food. You're waiting for something that requires a trigger that you're just not providing. If you have responsive desire and you are waiting to feel it before you engage, you will wait forever. That is just not how it works. I ask women, what would happen if you let yourself engage with intimacy even when you do not feel desire first, knowing that desire might show up once you start? Many have never considered this. They thought desire had to come first. But for responsive desire, engagement comes first and then desire follows. Think of it like exercise. You rarely feel like working out before you start, but once you begin moving, you start to feel good and you want to continue. Waiting to feel motivated before exercising means you probably rarely exercise. Responsive desire is similar. The wanting often shows up after you begin, not before. Ask yourself, have I been waiting for desire to show up before engaging? What if I let myself start and see if desire follows? This is not about forcing yourself when you truly don't want to. It is about understanding that desire might emerge after engagement begins. So, what does responsive desire actually need to show up? Responsive desire needs specific conditions to emerge. It needs emotional connection, safety, and presence. It needs your nervous system to be calm enough to shift out of task mode. It needs touch that feels good without pressure to escalate. It needs enough mental space to actually arrive in your body. It needs to feel like a choice rather than an obligation. When these conditions are present, responsive desire shows up. When they're absent, it cannot emerge no matter how much you want it to. Understanding this shifts your focus from what is wrong with me to what conditions am I creating? Responsive desire is not about trying harder. It's about creating the right invitation. The conditions responsive desire needs are emotional connection and feeling seen by your partner, a calm nervous system not running on fumes or in survival mode, touch that feels pleasurable, not just functional or pressured, mental presence, not distracted by the to-do lists, freedom from obligation, and knowing that you can say no without any consequence. Stop waiting for desire to appear out of nowhere. Stop judging yourself against spontaneous desire standards and stop assuming something is wrong because you need warming up. But start creating conditions that invite responsive desire. Start allowing engagement to begin before desire fully shows up. And start understanding that desire following arousal is normal, not backwards. Now let me show you how to actually work with responsive desire instead of against it. Once you know you have responsive desire, you stop waiting and start creating. You stop measuring yourself against a standard that was never meant for you. You start understanding that your desire is not absent. It just needs a different approach. This is not about forcing yourself to have sex when you don't want to. It is about giving your desire the conditions it needs to actually show up. And it is about communicating with your partner so they understand that your desire works differently than theirs. It's not less than. Working with responsive desire means creating invitations, not waiting for urges to suddenly come. Think of desire like a campfire. Spontaneous desire is like a fire that ignites on its own. Responsive desire needs kindling, a spark, and the right conditions. It doesn't mean that the fire burns any less bright once it's lit. It just means it needs intentional building. Once you understand this, you stop waiting for lightning to strike and start gathering kindling. Tonight, do this. Work on confirming your desire type. Ask, do I rarely or never feel desire out of nowhere? Yes, likely means that you're responsive. Does desire sometimes emerge after intimacy begins? Yes, means likely responsive. Does connection, safety, or the right touch help desire show up? If yes, then likely responsive. If you answered yes to these, you have responsive desire. So stop judging yourself against spontaneous desire standards. Identify what your responsive desire needs. What helps me feel connected and present with my partner? What kind of touch actually feels good without pressure? What mental state do I need to be in? Do I need to feel calm, relaxed, not rushed? Write down 2 or 3 specific conditions that help you feel open to intimacy and communicate this to your partner. Share what you learned. I have responsive desire. That means I often will not feel the urge first. It does not mean that I don't want you. It means I need certain conditions to warm up. Tell them what helps. I feel more open to intimacy when we have connected emotionally first. I need touch to start slow without pressure to escalate. This is not rejection. It is a really kind instruction manual for how your desire actually works. Most intimacy struggles come from partners operating with different types of desire and not knowing it. He waits for her to show spontaneous desire. She waits to feel it before engaging, and then nothing happens. Understanding responsive desire and communicating about it breaks this stalemate. You stop waiting for something that was never going to arrive the way you expected and start creating conditions where desire can actually emerge. There is nothing wrong with you. You do not have low desire. You have responsive desire, and no one ever explained what that means. But now you know. Your desire does not show up uninvited. It shows up when the conditions are right. Stop waiting for spontaneous desire that is not coming. Start creating invitations your responsive desire can actually answer. Now that you understand your desire type, you need to understand why desire disappeared in the first place. Watch Why You Love Your Husband But Don't Want Sex. It explains the gap between loving your partner and wanting them. Link on the screen now.